All right, so let's get into top 10 QBs of all time. I could start. I could take the lead on this one. I've got number 1, the guy, the 7-time Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady. Undeniably, I think he's not only the greatest quarterback of all time, but the greatest sports figure, athlete, whatever you want to call it, to ever do it, ever. 2, I take Joe Montana just because of the Jordan-like record in big games like Super Bowls. It's debatable. Obviously, Peyton Manning's right there. I have Peyton Manning at 3, just right behind him. Obviously, just got into the Hall of Fame. Johnny Unitas, I have him at 4. One of the most transcendent players in all of football. If he played nowadays, he would be throwing up Breeze, Manning, Brady numbers. He's just one of those dominant guys. You got to put him in.
He put up Joe Montana numbers.
Joe Montana, and he was very early in football. He kind of made it a sport that people were like, oh wow, like this is very interesting to watch. 5, a little controversial. I think I'm going Drew Brees. He doesn't have all the Super Bowls or MVP accolades, but he has all the stats. He did it for so long. Obviously now he's kind of his arm has been used and spent, and he's at the end of his career. But when he was in his peak, he was just dominating the game, dominating the league. 5,000 yards almost every other year it seemed. 6, I'm going John Elway. Just a dominant football player. 7, I have Favre. He just did it for so long. His stats are obviously a little inflated because of it, but also the interceptions are, so it kind of balances itself out. 8, I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers. I think I'm doing this sort of out of the projection that he's going to have another 3-4 years that he puts up great numbers. But I'm putting him at 8 over Marino, who I have 9, who I think are very similar players, probably 2 of the greatest arm talents in football history. But Rodgers has a Super Bowl to show, and possibly if in the next couple of years, maybe another one. And then 10, I got Roger Staubach.
I like that list a lot. I have some similarities. Obviously, these are all great players, great quarterbacks, so there's going to be some intersection. I have number 1, obviously, the greatest American athlete of all time, Tom Brady. Number 2, I went with my guy. Up until about 4 days ago, he was the only player to have ever won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams, until Tom did it on Sunday, obviously. So I Peyton at 2. Number 3, I went with Joe Montana. He's just a beast, 4-0 in Super Bowls, but I do feel like his 49ers teams were a lot better than most of the teams that were playing at that time.
Definitely.
Number 4, I also had Johnny Unitas. The guy was just a beast. He was as transcendent as Peyton Manning was in his time. Johnny Unitas was that good.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5, I went with Dan Marino. I think that if you were to just create a prototype for a quarterback, it would be Dan Marino. The guy just had a cannon of an arm. He carried horrendous Dolphins teams to the playoffs routinely, and he played in a division where a team went to 4 straight Super Bowls, so a really good team. At 6, I went with Brett Favre, 3-time MVP, 5 NFC Championship game appearances. The guy's just a monster. 7, I went with Rodgers. I feel like Rodgers and Favre are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah, definitely.
But I for this list, I just had Favre at 6, Rodgers at 7. 8, I went with John Elway. He just carried terrible teams to the Super Bowl and then finally won 2 at the end. 9, I went with Drew Brees. And at number 10, might be a little surprising, but a guy I think is slept on pretty hard is Steve Young.
Yeah. Obviously, the post-Joe Montana era, you're going to be slept on a little bit.
Yeah, so I was pretty similar. I mean, we've kept the list sort of the same. The numbers have just been interchangeable. So obviously, Brady's 1. In agreement with... Ben, did you have Montana at 2?
I had Montana at 3. I had Peyton at 2.
Yeah, I had Montana at 2.
Yeah, so in agreement with Aiden, I had Montana at 2. I had Montana at 2, yeah, and then Peyton at 3. Unitas at 4, just because of what he was doing during his time. I have Elway at 5, which was a little shake-up for me. But I went back, looked at numbers, and then looked at the teams around him. I put Elway at 5. 6, I'm a little impartial because I am a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but I put Aaron Rodgers at 6 just because I think his talent is so unmatched. Yeah. Still at 37, he just won an MVP, threw 48 touchdowns, and what was it, 5 picks?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so that was crazy to me. 7, I had Brett Favre right after him. 8, Dan Marino, still, and I know you love to make the case.
I love Marino.
You love to make the case too that like, oh, he's terrible, horrendous teams. Like, still, he's only at 8 because he didn't win a Super Bowl for me. 9, I have Drew Brees, and then 10, a little shakeup, and this is more so based off of what he's gonna do when he retires. I put Russell Wilson at 10.
I like
just
that,
because he's missed the playoffs one time. He's started every game he's played in,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been to 2 Super Bowls already, all in 10 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a case you can make. I think a lot of people, if Mahomes won the Super Bowl past Sunday,
I would have had him
he probably would have been sitting at 10. So I think 10's interchangeable. There's a couple guys I could get in there.